If I asked you to picture a chaotic evil within Vinland Saga, a few deranged freaks might come to your mind, but without a doubt one man stands above them all, quite literally in fact, as the purest menace of the saga, Thorkell. Now, Vinland Saga has always taken pride in its realistic setting, however, Thorkell completely shatters this immersion due to his absolutely insane feats that no matter how you dice it, seem inhuman compared to the rest of the cast. This guy is easily one of the scariest presence on the battlefield, and to be honest, if you came face to face with him, just give up. So in today's video, I'm going to list some of the reasons why Thorkell is simply that menace. Our introduction of Thorkell comes during the London assault, as he awaits Askeladd's band atop a bridge. We see his chaotic nature instantly, as Thorkell announces he switched sides of literal war due to it being much more fun. Yeah, this guy's sick. Anyways, literally seconds later, this guy picks up a fucking boulder, and keep in mind Thorkell is 7'7", so imagine how enormous this boulder really is to an average person. Well, don't worry, you don't have to imagine it, as we see him literally launch the boulder at Floki's boat, and the splash takes up roughly half of the length of the boat, which had like 12 men on it. So yeah, this guy's pretty strong, and this is certainly a primary source of his love for fighting. Yet he is often left disappointed due to his strength severely outmatching any other fighter, until one twink steps up. Listen, I know Thorfinn is cold, but who does he think he is posing like that? Thorkell gets aroused by it anyways, shouldn't say that, and Thorfinn rockets towards him, so Thorkell casually swings a log at Thorfinn with the same speed my father used on me. However, Thorfinn expertly evades. The fight continues with Thorkell treating it as a joke, whilst Thorfinn remains serious until he makes a fatal error. Fully piercing Thorkell's monstrous hand with his blade causes barely any reaction from Thorkell, and he remains completely calm as he begins to ragdoll Thorfinn like Hulk vs Loki. Despite it being a serious moment for Thorfinn, the panel of Askeladd commenting on it with Thorfinn in the air makes me laugh every time I see it. It is genuinely so funny. As they retreat, Thorkell is displeased as he holds up Thorfinn, like me holding up the dead animal my cat brought in, but Thorfinn has one more attack, chopping off 2 of Thorkell's fingers, and this guy smiles. The Forest Skirmish is a quick battle that shows more of this psychotic Thorkell launching a spear with perfect accuracy across a long distance. And the crazy part is, compared to his coming spear feat, this is nothing. We see him in the heat of battle cackling like a madman, his swings so powerful they slice through men and trees both, much like a certain black swordsman, and we finally see that there is one man who Thorkell considers stronger than himself, the troll of Yom, Thors. Thors is often considered the strongest in the entire verse, but he definitely doesn't have the same menace mentality as Thorkell, which makes Thorkell's fighting style much more interesting. As Thorkell finally catches up with Askeladd's band, we see his unbelievable strength once more in his spear throw. Like, just look at the distance. Thorkell's troops appeared to be tiny specks, but Thorkell's throw manages to pierce not 1, not 2, but 3 soldiers. This man quite literally has a 50 cal sniper in his arms and completely violates Askeladd's band, and as a result makes them rebel in fear. Eventually they are captured by Thorkell, and he forces Thorgrim to fight to his death. And here we see one of the most demonic drawings in all of Vinland Saga, with the aura of Thorkell being that of an inhuman beast laughing maniacally at the stench of fear. What this reminds me of is how Hisoka could leak his aura to scare the shit out of Gon and Killua, and the same is true here. Without even lifting a blade, Thorgrim breaks on the inside in his fear, completely self-destructing from within when faced with the impossibility of Thorkell. I mean, in fairness, if you saw that on the battlefield, chances are you'd crack as well. Thorfinn then charges at Thorkell with the full sprint of a horse, and I'll give you 10 seconds to guess what he does in response. Is it A, jump out of the way of the horse that would obviously run you down? B, throw something at Thorfinn to make his course change direction? Or C, uppercuts the horse?
Yeah, no shock, this man uppercuts a fucking horse.
He sends the horse and Thorfinn flying backwards off the ground, and with the assumption the horse weighed roughly 500 kilograms being a warhorse, this means Thorkell can move 500 kilograms at least with one arm. Just mental. But yeah, this manga is realistic for sure. If you think that Thorkell's arms are his only strong points, however, you'd be wrong. In his fight with Thorfinn, he launches Thorfinn upwards with a kick that creates another hilarious moment, as Thorfinn can only say "what" in response, flying through the air in the same height as the birds. Next, we do see some of Thorkell's weakness show, as a flashback exhibits him getting easily one-tapped by Mr. Himothy himself, Thor's, and then his glass jaw being targeted by Thorfinn, making the giant fall down. But this doesn't fit my agenda, so it's all conspiracist bullshit and anti-Thorkell propaganda. Now, we don't get much of Thorkell for like 70 odd chapters. Apparently there's some random filler arc of self-growth and abstaining violence that Thorfinn undergoes. I skipped all that shit, to be honest, because obviously the pure fighting and action is better, right? But the first chapter of the Baltic Arc opens up with Thorkell squaring up to, yeah, a bear. Some absolutely gorgeous coloured panels ease us into this fever dream, and we see Thorkell with relative ease throw an overhand right, knocking the bear's teeth out before clenching it and snapping its back. Bro gave a different definition to a bear hug, like what the fuck is wrong with him. And of course he isn't satisfied by this overgrown badger and demands another bear even bigger. But don't worry Thorkell, he's coming. Beyond an uneventful battle with Garm, the next time we see Thorkell in action is during the assault on the Jomsvikings, and whilst initially he gets packed up by a fire attack, this man really doesn't take damage and is back the same day, slicing and dicing as per. These three panels really perfectly encapsulate the tapped nature of Thorkell as he begins crying over how much he loves war, all whilst massacring the masses. And to be honest, if someone loved me as much as Thorkell loved war, I'd be happy with life, and this double spread is truly horrifying as it rains with blood, guts, limbs, and probably a few cocks. This menace is so unserious is actually hilarious. Then hunting down Floki and performing an obvious reference from The Shining, which caught me massively off guard for the first time, and Thorkell was just the type of guy to do something like that. I guess Yukimura was going through a reference phase at this point, as next up Ymir, a reference to the first giant in Norse mythology and ancestor to all other giants, appears out of nowhere, towering over even Thorkell. This inclusion is pretty wacky and definitely not a necessary plot point in Vinland Saga, but then again everything involving Thorkell is unnecessary, so it fits his story. So it's pretty much just the Hulk versus Abomination at this stage, and the two engage in a throwing match in which we see how strong Thorkell really is, managing to launch a much larger man or beast, whatever the fuck Ymir is supposed to be, smashing into the wall, and of course in the face of the beast titan itself, Thorkell smiles. The fight lasts until the sun comes up, and just look at the size of Ymir. Remember Thorkell himself is 7'7" tall. Yeah, best not to take it seriously at this stage. Anyway, Thorkell chokes the monster out and celebrates like an MMA fighter, which begs the question, just how many rounds would it take the greatest ever Dylan Dennis to put Thorkell to sleep? From then, mention of Thorkell has dwindled, with the obvious shift in story to a more pacifist approach. Thorkell's pro-war mentality would simply be a disruption to the message Yukimura is trying to promote. Despite it being an alternative ideology, it is quite clear from Thorkell's presentation that he is childish, unempathetic, and not much more than a thrill seeker. I'm certain we will see more of Thorkell in the future, however, until that point we should not expect him in the current arc. But anyways, that wraps today's video up. I just wanted to have a fun one discussing one of the funniest and mental characters within Vinland Saga. And until next time, peace.